Hey everyone, Gill Gross here. Post-match, Carlos Alcaraz versus Jerry Shang, Australian Open, third round, 2024. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. This was not the match that we hoped it would be. 18-year-old Jerry Shang of China, coming off of a major splash the week before the Australian Open, making the semifinals of Hong Kong, and making the third round here in his Slam main draw debut, faces off against Carlos Alcaraz, the first match that Alcaraz has ever played against somebody younger than him. So while I didn't feel like this was going to be a match that was going to put Alcaraz in any sort of real danger, I did think it was a match worth everybody's attention because of the things that Shang has done in the last couple weeks and his promising future and upside at his tender age, relatively speaking, of 18. That tender age, though, unfortunately, means that he is likely not fully physically developed to where he ultimately will need to be and want to be. And, you know, he just clearly came in with something. There was heavy strapping on his thigh. The movement, you know, throughout the match, it never looked like it was severely compromised, if we're being honest. You know, there was actually about 3 or 4 points before he retired. Alcaraz hit a drop shot, and Shang gave it a go, and, you know, to my eyes, looked like he went into a full sprint. So it didn't look like the movement was too bad, but I think there was probably a combination of discomfort and demoralization that set in. And that's a tough combination when you're dealing with a little bit of pain or something that's hampering you, combined with, you know, really just getting the brakes beaten off of you, getting absolutely demolished on the scoreboard. It can break your will to the point of retirement, and that's what happened at the beginning of the third set for Shang, who again. He made the semifinals in Hong Kong last week, played a 5-setter in the first round, a 4-setter in the second round. This is his first time playing best of 5 ever, and he's 18. Just to kind of put it in perspective, you know, Alcaraz, in his first year on tour, the first time he made a run at a slam, that was the U.S. Open in 2021. His body broke down in the quarterfinal against Felix, and he retired. So I don't know, there's some similarities there. And the reason I bring that up is just as to kind of not be too hard on Jerry Shang at this stage in his career. You know, it's just, it happens to young players where physically they may not be ready for this. As for Alcaraz, you know, I think this was a useful match for him. He had been tested in the first set against Gasquet, you know, kind of looking for his timing and his rhythm. And then against Sonego, who comes in and plays aggressive and serves big and comes forward and uses his forehand as a weapon. That was pretty disruptive. And Sonego won a set. So that was a 4-setter. I think Alcaraz, it's not that he needed a quick match for energy conservation reasons or fatigue reasons, but I think for confidence reasons, the blowout at this stage in the tournament is useful for Carlos. Not to mention, I think it is good, again, at this stage, to play a match where you barely have to physically exert yourself. I mean, this was like a hard practice session for Alcaraz in terms of duration. I think that's a positive thing. So I think this will help him along. And in terms of what I saw in the match, right away, it was just kind of uncompetitive serving from Jerry Shang. Super low first serve percentage, and then coming in with a second serve that was really slow and didn't kick. So Alcaraz had a lot of options on the second serve return. And the wild part about it was Alcaraz was not doing the same thing over and over again. He was choosing different tactics, and all of them were working, and he just continued to mix it up. But, you know, there were options here. You know, Shang was bringing that slow lefty slice second serve. So Alcaraz would sometimes stand in and take it really early on his backhand. On the deuce side, it would be inside in. On the ad side, it would usually be down the line. So In both cases, it's just the more aggressive play where the ball travels less distance to get, to penetrate through the court. And that was working really well for Alcaraz. But then there was the other play where he would move back. He would cheat to his left. The second serve would come in. Alcaraz would run around and hit as heavy a forehand as possible. He had plenty of time to take a full-blooded swing on the second serve return on his forehand. That was very effective too. So the combination of missed first serves and the attackability of the second serve was a pretty deadly combination for Shang. Now, the background here is Jerry Shang has improved his serve vastly in the offseason. It is way, way, way better. I have some sources who train with Shang, and they basically told me this was the first offseason where, Jerry actually committed to working on the serve, and he's beefed it up massively. The average speeds are way up. But I do wonder, if the second serve is maybe the next frontier for Shang, because he's kind of created this ability to flatten out and hit with some speed on the first serve. And it's also got some action. I've seen him hit, slice serves in the low 120s, mid 120s, which is huge progress for him. Or maybe it's the thigh and the legs that were making the second serve so weak and attackable. But also for lefties, most of them never develop a kick serve. They only have a slice serve. And, they can get away with that, but there's definitely some drawbacks when that's the case with the lefties. And I don't know, just judging off of this match, it seems like Shang doesn't have a kick serve. So that might be the next thing for him to kind of look at when it comes to improving his serve. Another thing was just Alcaraz winning points from defensive positions. Alcaraz defended really well in this match. Those extra balls were coming back time and time again. If Alcaraz was able to get his racket on it, they were back in the court. And Shang ended up just overpressing on the forehand. I mean, I too many times to count, Shang would hit one good aggressive forehand and miss the second. You have to string together offense against Alcaraz. The movement is so good that you're going to have to play extra balls. And Shang just couldn't stay heavy. It looked like he was a little bit panicked by the movement of Alcaraz. And I'll say, if you don't trust your legs, this is what happens, right? If you're not willing to kind of work the point and you're very desperate to dictate because you don't feel 100%, this is what happens. So it's not really shocking in light of Shang being less than 100% physically. And then, the net play also for Shang, at times it just wasn't clinical enough, which took away another option. Shang tried to serve and volley a couple times. I don't know that it ever worked. I don't know that it worked once. Alcaraz always just made the good return. Shang had a difficult first volley. He was never able to make a good enough first volley. And that was that. I can recall the first break of the match. Shang had a backhand volley that he just hit deep, kind of floaty. He didn't stick it. It kind of floated into the forehand corner for Alcaraz. And Carlitos hit a beautiful forehand lob. Shang was 4 of 12 at net. Other than that, I do think Alcaraz's level in the second set was worth appreciating. It was really good, and especially after getting the break. When he's fully relaxed, there's such a magic, there's such an imaginative quality to Alcaraz combined with his abilities, and it was good to see him just 100% comfortable, totally into the flow state, in full flight. And obviously that has a lot to do with the fact that he wasn't feeling any stress, wasn't under any pressure with what was happening on the other side of the net. But I also think, again, as I said at the start of this video, it's good for Alcaraz to feel that moving forward in the tournament. I think it's a useful thing to just get into that mode. So I'm going to pretty much leave it at that. Misha Kecmanovic instead of Tommy Paul in the next round. That's good news for Alcaraz. Athletically, Kecmanovic just isn't quite as intimidating as Tommy. And Alcaraz does not have the long history of struggling against Kecmanovic like he does against Tommy Paul, although they did play that epic match when Kecmanovic was at his absolute best at Indian Wells. Wasn't Miami, right? I'm 100% sure it was Sunshine Double. But anyway, they played that epic match last year in March. So I still need to see what happened to Tommy in the fourth set. I know that he had a match point, and I know that he lost the fifth set 6-love. That's next on my agenda, is catching up on what happened in that one. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.